So how long ago did you say you started this?
1998 we bought it, and at that time we were looking around. We travelled the world trying to see animals in the wild, particularly big cats. Our whole family has a passion for all animals, but big cats. And after travelling all around the world into North America and Siberia and those areas, Africa, we realised there weren't many left and that they were going to eventually be wiped out. So we started off looking at a big cat breeding program and trying to get some land from the government to do that. The aquarium came up on for tender through the receivers again. And so we thought it was a good opportunity. We had 6 kids, all between 20 and 30, and we thought it was a great opportunity. 2 of those were involved in aquaculture, and 2 were involved in hospitality, so we thought we can drop those in there.
Pay the minimum wage.
Tick. They didn't even know what minimum wage was. That's a good thing about your kids.
You paid them?
But most of them are still there. So
great.
We've had all 6 of them involved, and some of the grandkids. Yeah, it still is. Yeah, it still is. We've still got 3 of the kids there, and a couple of our grandkids come and work on, university holidays and part-time, etc.
But to get from that point, as we're looking at gorgeous pictures of now, to saying, we might do a wildlife thing, to, we're going to build this extraordinary, unique in the whole world hotel system. How did you get there?
Well, we started with just the zoo. We expanded into a fully fledged zoo, and we brought people in from outside who had the expertise and trained up others. But a lot of our staff have come through as local people who started off as volunteers, maybe spent 2, 3, 4, 5 years as a volunteer. Gradually, we would give them opportunities as maybe a part-time guide or a keeper, and then they've gradually developed, and we get to see their work ethic, we get to see their attitude and their ability with animals, etc. And so that's developed right through that area there, and we've taken on more and more animals, and it's just got to the point where, as we've got some more land up the back and started to develop an open range zoo, we realised that we probably need to go a bit further in raising revenue, because the zoo was never designed to be a commercial enterprise. It has commercial considerations, but it's not a money-making enterprise, and that was half the idea of Jamala.
Yeah. So how did you come up with this idea where you can, share a room with a bear, basically, a dining hall with lions, tree houses with giraffes? Yeah. How did you sort of do the design and design around the enclosures, or how did it work?
Yeah, well, we go to Africa every year, and so we see animals in the wild over there. We've got different animals here. They're not in the wild, but they're part of breeding programs. They're part of educational programs. And so we travelled pretty well everywhere to try and pinch some ideas for the lodge. We had it in our head what we wanted, but we couldn't find anywhere really that was the same as this. So we started off with a blank sheet of paper, and then we said, okay, we've got the area up the back, we can start up there, and then we realised that all our big name animals were already down the original part of the zoo, and so we dropped the bungalows into those, and so that's what you get. You get the bear in your bath, virtually in your bathroom, or the lion in your lounge room, etc., and the lion and the giraffes on your balcony. So we developed it all. Maureen did a lot of the design work. She did all the fit out, everything in there. A lot of them of the items we've got, she's collected over the years, and she just fitted out and furnished every aspect of the Jamala.
Each cabin. Is it? Is that how it works?
There's 3 different accommodation precincts. One is what we call Jamala Lodge, which is what was our house, and that has a big shark tank in the middle, and the shark tank is a big donut shaped, and so the public view it from the other side. Jamala guests view it from this side, and it's a solid centre, so they don't see each other. So that was our lounge room, and so we've got 7 rooms we've added on to that, and so guests have got varying size rooms, from rooms with a big reef in it through to that's one of the bungalows. And so there's 5 of the bungalows like that, and either brown bear, sun bear, that's obviously the tiger. There's 2 beautiful tigers there come up, and they're built in a U shape, and your bedroom, your lounge room and your bathroom all look onto that little open area there that they come, and they lie in the middle of it. They get right up close. They're not locked there. They come and go as they please. There's the big stone bath, and they lie right out the front there. And as I say, they come and go as they please, but they're just as inquisitive as as the people are, so they like to hang around where people are. And
this is so much more than a hotel, though. It's an experience.
Yeah, it is. It's a 22-hour experience, and people in those ones, they'll put their hand up against the glass, and quite often the bear or the tiger will come up and do the same with their paws. Well, it's amazing how many people do. And they pull the doonas off the bed and they sleep next because the lion's lying there or the bear's lying there. And they're that far away. Well, that far away, it's about an inch of glass, thankfully. And so they put it, doesn't do much for our laundry bill, but they have a great time lying there.
Yeah, fantastic.
The happiest people you see every day.
That's again one of the bungalows, and so it's lion, tigers, cheetah, brown bear, and sun bear. You can pick any of those, and they're all fitted out in that sort of format.
They've got mosaics as well.
There's some beautiful mosaic tiling done in the bathrooms.
And so, as you mentioned, your wife Maureen has basically collected this throughout your travels as you go to Africa every year, brought things back specifically so that you have that real experience.
And we still do. We've got another container load arrived. We just opened up a gift shop there because a lot of the people said, we'd like to be able to buy that particular Nanji doll, we'd like to buy this. And so we brought some over. And we've actually had a lot of African nationals or expats who live in Australia who come and stay there. And they get very emotional about it, and they love the set out and say it just appears so much like home. And we had one of the ambassadors came over about 2 weeks ago, and he came back again. He just loved it, and he came back and went into the gift shop and bought as much as he could because it reminded him so much of home.
Oh wow, isn't it great?
Yeah.
Now, you've never had any problems with animal activists or anything? Everything's groovy as far as that goes?
Yeah, well, when we first started, this is going back 17 years with just the zoo before Jamala. Yes, there was some reaction to us, but I think as time's gone on, people have realised that there are good zoos and not so good zoos. Most of the ones in Australia are all very good zoos, and I think they realise that what we're doing, we're all working towards the same end. That we have different ways of doing it. Animal activists quite often don't believe in any animals in captivity, and I can understand that. We wish animals didn't have to be in captivity, but they do if you want to educate the public, if you want to have breeding programs.
Because there's an international association people trying to breed, aren't there?
Yep. Yes. It's a huge organisation, and so as some of these animals are getting wiped out in the wild, the zoos and Aquarium are doing everything they can to try and keep the species alive, so eventually we can reintroduce them to the wild.
Take us through like a one-night itinerary. What do you do?
Okay, so we encourage people to arrive between about 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. We bring them into what we call your Jamala Lodge, so that's the one I mentioned before with the big shark tank in there and the beautiful lounge and dining area. They have afternoon tea and they have an hour or so to relax and look around and meet the other guests. And then we take them on a tour, and after that only the guests who stay in that lodge, the 7 rooms, have use of that lounge and dining room and the pool and the spa, and it's right on the edge of Lake Burley Griffin, so it looks over the lake. And then they go on a tour for about an hour and a half to the original part of the zoo. We then get them back to their room by 4 o'clock. Originally the biggest complaint we had was that people didn't get enough time in their rooms. They loved the activity, they loved doing everything, but because the rooms are actually a destination, they're not just somewhere you go back to after your day's activities. People just love relaxing in the rooms because you've got the giraffe there, you've got your lion there. We've got rooms in your Sharka where you go out onto a terrace and you pat a shark. It sits on top of the shark tank, and the shark comes up and you get to pat the shark. So that was the complaint. We got more time in the rooms. We couldn't make the days any longer, so we got them back a bit earlier. And so now they have between 4 o'clock and 6:30 in their rooms, or they can relax in the Sharka Lounge, the guests staying there, or they can wander the zoo if they want, but most pick the rooms because of the animal activities. And 6:30 we bring them down for dinner. We have canapes and drinks out on the terrace, and everything's included, so the moe and the fine wines, etc., and the 5-course meals included. And the shot you showed before with the hyenas, that's on the terrace outside the dining room, so the hyenas come over to say hello.
Oh, wow.
When they go into... It's an incredible experience. When dinner's on, or just before dinner, 99 times out of 100, the white lions come up, or at least one or both of the white lions will come up. They've got an area they come up and they sit on the terrace, and then they can sit inside the dining room with glass just between them. Again, we never lock them in, so sometimes they're there for 5 minutes, sometimes they're there all night. And winter, more often than not, that's when they, because of the weather, although they've got another den they can go to, they choose to come up there. And so winter's a good time to visit it, because you know the white lions are going to be there for a couple of hours while you have dinner.